Hey everybody, and welcome back to another show that I'm producing because I don't produce enough shows, so I decided to do one more. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk to Max Gremillion. He's with Pool Pal. His shirt actually shows the logo, even though you can't see it because there you go. There you go, Max. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few items that are very selected questions for you guys, all you beginner fab guys, all you budget fabrication guys. And these, while will be really focused toward off-road fabrication, won't specifically be only applicable to off-road fabrication. They're going to be applicable to just about any kind of metal fabrication because we're talking about just getting started with materials and with tools and that kind of stuff as well. So Max, I don't know if he's got a little bit of a doubt in his mind there, but we'll get going in this. And so everybody knows what we're talking about here is really the question of what are must-have tools for beginner fabricator or budget fabricators, right?
Correct. The first item I would get would be a grinder with a knife wheel or a razor wheel. Now, I've got one of these here, obviously not without a guard. Don't recommend this. Kids, don't try this at home. However, one of the most functional things in my toolbox is my grinder. And I don't choose to do a lot of grinding, but it is a part of the fabrication. Getting into the prep work, cutting with a little, we call it a knife wheel.
Why an angle grinder? Because I mean, we know, like you said, you had the cutoff wheels on them, and you use cutoff wheels. But is it because they're just so proficient at cutting? Is that the only reason the guys would want to have an angle grinder in their shop?
Well, not only is it portable, but with this, I mean, we can slice out curves, radiuses. We can cope. Obviously, a bunch of different padded wheels, hard surface grinding wheels. There's a lot of very dimensional. It has to be one of my biggest workhorses right here, which is the angle grinder. It's probably, well, my right hand man right there. I mean, that is the number one right there, is my grinder. Yeah. Surface prep is key.
And I got a question for you, because the other day I was in the shop, or in the store, and I was looking at angle grinders because, as you know, I'm rebuilding my toolkit, right?
Right.
And I saw some prominent name angle grinders in the store. You know, the DeWalt's, the Milwaukee's, the Makitas, and then over to the side I saw another couple of brands that are well known, but they're not considered as professional grade as those that I just mentioned. And yet the ones that are professional grade, right, all had like a year warranty on them, you know?
Sure.
And they were like over $100 or close to $100 for this tool. And the others that I saw to the right, which aren't considered professional grade, had a 3-year warranty and were around $50. Is there a real benefit for some guy starting out and paying the extra or 3 times the price for one of the better name professional grade ones over one of the cheaper ones?
Well, I got to tell you, on that note, I'm a firm believer of what you get what you pay for. However, this particular grinder, you know, the Makita, this one right here is about 14 years old, and you can see it even has a busted out key. It still works like a champ. I beat the heck out of this thing. I've had a number of Milwaukee's, the earlier models. I can get parts for them. I can rebuild them. They're a little bit on the $80 range. As for the $40 to $50 range, I guess it all depends on how much you're going to use it. If it's how much of an investment is it to you to spend an extra $20, $30? You know, but there again, if it's a limited use, sure, only go with the, you know, the slightly lesser models.
So what other, I mean, with the angle grinder, you mentioned the cutoff wheels or the razor wheels, as you call them, the knife wheels. You also mentioned that there's the sanding disc, of course, and I know that there's like flat sanding discs that are padded. Then there's the hard-backed sanding disc, and then there's the flap discs, right?
One of my favorites is the flap discs in a bunch of different configurations. But the flap discs, you can get them anywhere from a 40 grit on up to a 60, 80 grit. I always like to keep around my older, more broken down, worn flap discs for different jobs. Different rounding surfaces, rounding corners, everything else, surface prep. Obviously, the 40 grit cutting a lot more, and a lot more of a square edge, on the brand new disc. It all depends. It's kind of it's your own tapestry.
Yeah.
And you pick out whichever paintbrush you want to look, well, within a certain fashion.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mention that because I do the same. That's a good piece of advice. Thanks for bringing that out. I wouldn't have even thought to mention it. So, what other tools should people have?
Well, I mean, just running along the basics, assorted C-clamps, standard C-clamps, you can never have too many C-clamps. And then, of course, one of my other workhorses, the vice grips.
Yeah, the
can never have
clamps.
too many vice grips. It doesn't matter the make, the model. If you got them from Harbor Freight or from Sears or from, what have you, a clamp is a clamp. Yeah. And when you need it, it's gold because you can never have too many hands.
Yeah, in fact, I just bought a bunch of, I guess 4, not a bunch, but a number of those spring-loaded, rubber-tipped alligator clamps.
Sure.
For $1 at Home Depot because they were having a sell on them.
Absolutely.
And it was actually cheaper than Harbor Freight, so I bought 4 of them. And I'm like, what am I going to use them for? I don't know yet, but I'll use them.
I will use them.
So what else would people might want?
Well, just looking along some of the basics, assorted squares. Mm-hmm. Anything from a typical framing square on up to, the smaller carpentry square. One of my personal favorites is the speed square. You'll know it by a hard back. It's something that's used mostly in carpentry, but there's a myriad of different techniques that you can use for finding different angles, layout. It is kind of one of the core basics. The Swanson speed square comes to my mind. That right there, it's worth gold. I mean, knowing how to use it, you can lay out a 32 degree, if that's what you figure, square it on one side, lay it on the back side of the spine, aim it towards 32 degrees, and then if you're making a bumper or who knows what, a roll cage, whatever you're making, yeah. Swanson Speed Square is it's one of my go-to tools every day.
What else would they might want to pick up?
A basic good set of files, a good rat tail file, a good flat file, half round, something that's got a good double cut to it to where you can deburr, finessing the material. And, not only that, but into surface preparation to get that good angle that we're actually looking for. Above and beyond that, a good wire brush.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
Good, very good point. What else might they want to have for basic set? One
of my go-to tools is the Portaband.
Now, what is a Portaband?
It's a portable bandsaw.
Okay.
The portable bandsaw has about a 6-inch throat, and with a fence on it, it's manual, obviously. You can cut, slice, dice. It is probably the best thing since sliced bread that I use on a daily basis, short of an angle grinder. Very minimal deburring, very precision cut, as long as you're following your line. This is, if Felix has a bag of tricks, this is one of my go-to tools in my bag of tricks.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Now, what are some of the benefits of a Portaband over the chop saws?
Well, chop saws, not a big fan of chop saws. However, they do have their time and place. Chop saws, good for angular cuts. They throw a lot of sparks. Of course, you want to be mindful of the sparks that you're throwing, not creating more fires than doing good.
Bring people's cars.
But, noisy, abrasive. They smell funny. With the Portaband, I can come in and I can make a coped cut, or I can make a straight cut, angled, within reason. And then also I can make a miter or a cope out a pipe, if I wanted to touch it into a particular joint. I mean, it's just probably one of the most versatile hand tools.
Anything else that you have on your list for tools?
Well, one of the things, I mean, getting down to the core basics, you can never go wrong with a good level. Between a level and a plumb bob and or a string line. Basic layout, I'm going to profess, you'll get what you pay for with a good level. It's one of those core basic tools. And the string line, that's worth gold. Once you learn how to square things up, either it be a building, a foundation, or frame geometry, if you can 3, 4, 5 things. We'll get into that some other day.
Yeah, we'll get into that later on.
Yeah.
Okay. And what else do you have on your list for the guys?
Well, let's see here. As far as basic tools, there's some layout tools, a good pencil, soapstone, a scribe, a scale, and or a nice metal ruler. Those are some of the basic things that I use on a daily basis.
I'd like to add one. A good center punch for marking your drill holes.
There you go. Good set of cold chisels, perhaps.
Oh, yeah. And anything else you got on your list?
That's about all I have on my list for tonight. I'm sure we could really expound on this.
Come on, man. You forgot one of the most important.
Yeah?
You forgot the 3-pound sledgehammer.
Well, that is always a must.
As Max was mentioning, these are super basic things. There are other things that you could use. I mean, we'll get into a lot of them later, but torches and things like that to help heat things up. And those are all things that you can use and are beneficial. But what Max is mentioning really to me are also the most basic. And if you're going to do any kind of metal fabrication, in my opinion, I don't know if you're in agreement, Max, but if you're going to do anything for off-road kind of stuff, another thing is at least a basic set of hand tools like mechanics tools, ratchet, wrenches, screwdrivers, because if you're building bumpers, for instance, you've got to take them off, you've got to put them on, that kind of stuff. If you're building suspension components, you got to put the bolts in, tighten them up, loosen them so that they actually work the way that they should, and you can see how they work. So, and I'm not saying a huge set of tools. A good set of wrenches and a good ratchet set is a must for my mentality. Also, the screwdrivers. Are you in agreement?
Absolutely. And, of course, ratchet straps.
Oh, yeah. That's a very good point. Even in some cases, I've used, well, that's getting a little more advanced, so. Yeah. But yeah, ratchet straps are a good call on that one. All right. Well, guys, that's all of the time we've got for this episode of 15 minutes, which actually turned out to be 20 minutes with Max, but we're okay. We'll edit it down. It'll be 15. What we'll do is we will have another episode pretty soon with Max. He's going to come back on the show. Now, Max won't be the only guy on my show, but he's really zealous to help me do this kind of stuff, and I'm really happy to have him on the show because, well, he's fun to talk to and he's very knowledgeable. So you'll see us in the future, and I hope you guys want to stop by and check out the show again in the near future. Don't forget to check out all my sites, which are beginnersfab.com, offroadindependence.com. I've also got my Zazzle site. Please go buy some shirts. I'm poor. I need some money. And then I know that Max always benefits when you guys stop by poolpal.com, right? That's the site you've got?
Absolutely, poolpal.com.
And they've got not only pool pals, but a number of other cool pieces of equipment that you want to check out on there as well. So, anything new on the site, Max, before we...
Just licking our wounds from Easter Jeep Safari and retooling, and we've got a project flat fender that I'm working on right now, and so we've got a few things that we're playing around with. It's still a little early in the can, but revamping the independent Pole Pal CJ7. And so we've got some surprises with that as well. Everything's still a bit early, but we've got a few things on the drawing board.
So look, guys, don't forget to stop by just my site. Stop by Pool Pal. You get to see all the cool stuff that's going on. You can follow Max Gremillion on Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook. And then you don't miss any of what we're talking about. So once again, thanks, Max. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching the show. We hope to get some feedback from you guys. Let us know, what do you want to know about from us, from Max, from me, or from the show in general. And we'll try to get that on some future episodes. So once again, thanks, everybody, and we hope to see you in the next episode.